Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Now we're going to move on to the second segment of our panel. We have invited three Hispanic leaders to discuss how COVID-19 has affected their state's agencies' actions. It is my pleasure to introduce Carlos Suárez, State Conservationist from NRCS California, Luis Cruz-Arroyo, State Conservationist from NRCS Puerto Rico, and Rafael Vega, State Resource Conservationist from NRCS North Carolina. We will now begin with Mr. Carlos Suárez, whenever you're ready.
Hi, Sarah. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we give the floor to you.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Can do it in English or Spanish, whichever way you want it. So,
whichever you're most comfortable with. It's
okay. Yeah. I'll do it in English, and if there's any question in Spanish, I'll answer it then. But good morning, everyone, and thanks so much to you, Sara, and also to Nolo for allowing me the time to speak today on this second annual symposium. And as we all know, the COVID had put a lot of changes in our lives, and I know this year, Nolo, you were planning on doing it the same as last year when it was held in North Carolina. So, but certainly, I'm glad that I'm able to join and join with esteemed colleagues, with Luis and Rafael and others, and I thoroughly enjoyed the presentations by the farmers. For those of you that are not familiarized with NRCS, I'm the State Conservationist or State Director for NRCS and Natural Resources Conservation Service here in California. And we had a workforce of almost 345 employees, but close to 400 when you count the people that are on agreements and contracts and other type of arrangements that provide support in our great state. For those, a little bit of history about California, we are the #1 state in agriculture in the nation, and a fact that I always like to share because it's something that we feel very proud of. We are the 5th largest economy in the world if we were being a country, and definitely the #1 in agriculture in the nation. With that said, it's and managing 55 field offices, 4 area offices, and also a state office, it definitely put a lot of complexity as far as dealing with all those with our programs, with Farm Bill programs, also with the conservation technical assistance that we provide to our farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners. And when we can all remember, and this is something I remind my colleagues and the team that I serve, is that we remember everything before, I will say, March 10. March 10 was the day that pretty much the state went into shutdown, and everything after. And managing an agency, such a large agency, we're the 2nd largest when it comes to funding after Texas. I lead, we manage almost $200 million in operational programs and a portfolio of over $1.1 billion in projects. It definitely put I guess, complexity, or it's an understatement. But we made it happen. I am very proud of the people that I serve. And I stress that word because I call myself a servant leader. I work for my staff, not the other way around. But most importantly is having to adjust on the fly. And we were very proactive in adjusting to the changes that occurred in the state. A lot of our offices all of our offices, for all practical purposes, are open. Whether we have staff at the offices or not is different. And it depends on the county stage as far as the opening for business due to COVID. We use a lot of the information that is provided by CDC, also by USDA, Homeland Security, and also by the state of California to decide what offices we can put in more staff or have staff working out of those offices or not. As you can tell, and by the beautiful portrait I have on the back, I'm actually working from home for the past almost 6 months, although I do go to the office as an essential employee that we all are in NRCS and USDA. I do go to the office at least once a week, just to make sure that I stay in connection with some of the staff and so forth. The critical part has been not only delivering conservation, and our staff has done an outstanding job this year delivering that. But the critical part has been, quite honest with you, is making sure that employees that they're safe. First and foremost, that is my goal. That is my priority. That my staff, my leaders, my leadership team, my field office staff remain safe, that when they go out to the field, they use the proper protocol, social distancing, the sanitizers, the mask, and so forth. And in addition to that, making sure that they, with the changes, people think, oh, you're working from home, it's easier. It's actually, as I have come down to find out, and I'm a kind of an old school kind of a guy that goes to the office no matter what. It's you have to make a big adjustment, because even though you're at home, you have to manage your time and manage things to make it happen. So it's been tough, but the staff has done an outstanding job in doing that, and we continue to deliver services, making adjustments as we go. So I'm seeing you, so I'm guessing that's my cue to be quiet.
No, not yet. You have a little bit more time if there's anything you would like to express. And if you want to wait till the Q&A session that we'll be having shortly, we can just go over and present Mr. Luis Suárez. Sorry.
Yeah, so let me just one thing, if you allow me 30 more seconds, and that is,
of course.
We have changed. What we've done is, the key during this pandemic has been the communication. Is talking with the staff. When it started, I was visiting with all my employees every week. I have a teleconference every week, just to talk about how things were going and actually encourage them. I always started by saying, your mental health, your emotional health come first, your physical health come first. Kind of giving a pep talk and trying to make sure and monitoring how things were going at the field level, and ending those calls again the same way. The frequency has changed. Now I do it once a month, but I still communicate with them by email. With my leadership team, I communicate once a week to talk about where the situation is in the pandemic, and also making sure that I stay in touch with our partners. I have an excellent relationship with Secretary Karen Ross, the Secretary of HFAP for California, Wade Crawford, who is the Secretary of Natural Resources for the state, but also with Forest Service, with EPA, with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and of course, the conservation districts in the state. And that relationship and staying in touch with them has given us a feedback and an idea where we at and how we need to adjust our services during this time. So I'll stop there, and I can answer any questions later during the Q&A.
Thank you, Carlos. Again, as you can see, communication is key for a lot of these processes. Talking with others, communication, that's key. Now, I'm going to introduce Mr. Luis Cruz-Arroyo. And yeah, remember to, Carlos, stick around since we're going to have a Q&A session shortly afterwards. Whenever you're ready, Luis.
Sarah, can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We cannot see you. We can see you.
Well, yeah. Buenas tardes y saludos a todos. Good afternoon. I hope that you and your families are well and healthy as we continue to navigate the current situation with this pandemic. Thank you, Carlos, for your words. Always on point, and we may have some overlap, but I'll try to kind of mention a couple other things. Before I start, for me, it's a real honor and privilege to be part of this panel, and I want to congratulate Nolo Consulting and all the other partners for putting together this important forum. I also want to apologize for not being able to be on the whole meeting. I saw the meeting in the morning, but in the afternoon after the panel, I will have to go. So hopefully there's a recording I can access at some point. I've been introduced already. So I'm the Caribbean Director for USDA NRCS. So I'm the Carlos Suárez counterpart for the Caribbean, which pretty much covers Puerto Rico and USVI. Like Carlos was saying, we're a customer service agency where we provide one-on-one customer assistance in the implementation of conservation practices and programs. So this has been a really interesting year. As you may be aware, the Caribbean is smack down through the hurricane path. For us, emergency preparedness is critical and a part of our normal operations, where we review and update our emergency response plans, our continuity of operations plan. We do that at least quarterly, and we always try to practice our communication strategies, which is also very important because on those emergency situations, you're relying on muscle memory. So that can be satellite phones, cell phones, and any other means of communication depending on the scenario. However, this year has been really different with the pandemic and COVID-19 entering our lives, which is the main subject of our panel, which literally changed our daily lives and operations as we know it overnight. In addition, in Puerto Rico, if you don't know, have been dealing with earthquakes since January 6th of 2020, which is not a normal occurrence and at least 2 generations, and for which we were honestly culturally unprepared, with the ground shaking and everybody just looking around to see what's going on. These different scenarios really create an interesting dynamic, and I know Carlos probably deals with that with the fires in California when you have to start considering the interactions between these events. So if there's a strong earthquake and a pandemic and our employees have to go to a refuge of some kind, those are interesting dynamics. And in addition, in a couple of weeks, you have a storm coming. So how do you prepare for that? And we're always learning and improving on how we manage that pandemic. So with all changes in our RORA's leadership position, I think Carlos touched on it. Our first priority is our people, and in that sense, I would say we're a little bit lucky because NRCS employees are just as resilient as they come, and the farmers are very resilient, and our partners are too. But we have to remember that every process or every person stress at different rates and process information at differently. So we took a couple of steps to manage and prepare our staff in different ways. I always say when there's a change, always increase the flow of information. That's my rule, and I stick to that. So as soon as COVID hit, well, we've been doing this since the earthquake, but as soon as COVID hit, we continue our weekly meetings to brief employees on what was happening. And we had to allow for plenty of times for conversations. Remember that we're getting used to all these systems at the house with teleworking. There's kids and dogs in the background, so there may be other noises. So we have to allow as leaders plenty of time so we can have those honest conversations. We also tended to do in the beginning round robins. We call out each and every one of our employees, and for a state like California, that's probably pretty difficult to do. But for Puerto Rico, where we're 62 employees, we could do that in a day and feel comfortable about the message that we're getting, and that just provided us a space where every employee felt comfortable sharing something or just saying, yeah, everything provided is good and I appreciate what you're doing. So that was really helpful, I think, especially in the beginning, because it primed us to have honest conversations moving into the future. Coordinate resources that employees that can help employees coping with the situation was also crucial. And, thankfully for all federal agencies, we have the Employee Assistance Program, which really was critical to bring resources to our employees in coping with stress and changing scenarios and that sort of things. Health insurance plans were also very important for us because they provided free resources for our employees, regardless of their health plan, also in the coping mechanisms. I think Carlos touched on this a little bit, but as leaders, we also had to kind of understand the supply chain. Everybody's trying to get sanitizer and disinfectants and all that. So we were in the beginning, probably aggressive is not the right word, but we were pretty determined to get what we needed. And I do have people that understand that supply chain. So I relied on them heavily to get what we needed. And I personally met with supermarkets to see what they were using and just try to acquire similar products. And we assisted in that to help other agencies to get their stuff too. I see that you were there, so I got a couple more points, but I don't want to leave without talking about opportunities.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just showing my screen, but you can continue talking. You have plenty of time.
Okay, good deal. I want to leave plenty of time for Rafael, so just stop me if you need me to.
No, whenever we need to stop you, I will. Don't worry about it.
Great. So the other thing is understand what you can do and can't do as an agency. So with COVID-19 and helping our customers, yes, we can go to the field and help them in everything conservation, right? But there was another reality that they were, and the previous panelists explained that perfectly, where a lot of their products were not going out. So we kind of became a medium to promote other programs like the coronavirus food assistance programs for the Farm Service Agency. So all our platforms had that information. We took calls and help everywhere we could, and then referred to FSA as needed. And FSA did the same thing when we were dealing with emergency situations like storms, where we actually had other programs. As far as opportunities, this has also created plenty of chances for us. And I think the previous panelists talked about some of those chances of maybe staying home and working on the farm. Well, I had to go study and those sort of things. Same thing for us as an agency. I think this allows us to adopt communication technology probably faster than ever. I think we are all almost experts on Skype, Teams, Zoom, Google Drive, Adobe Connect, SharePoints, you name it. We have used it. And it's not only the technology, but that as a island nation, it expands your boundaries, where you have people from other countries listening to your presentations. And we had people from different Caribbean countries, and I participated in a forest service meeting, and we had people from Africa listening in. So I think for the agency, this is only good. The other, or what I would say the biggest takeaway, and I try to be a people's pride, resonance with people, is our reassurance of our human condition and the need for personal interaction. Being away for 3, 5, 6 months apart, every time you see people together, that being through digital platforms or actually keeping social distance in the offices or in the field, you saw those smiling face because they had access to something that they had not had access for a while. So sometimes we take for granted that time that we have one-on-one with our coworkers, which, in a lot of times they become sort of like a second family. So that to say that, as we value those relationships again, which I think COVID has been great to do that, I truly believe that this will only make us stronger as a unit. So looking forward when the vaccine is here, I know that we can tackle a lot of things together. So again, with that, I finished. I want to thank, before I leave, Nolo for this opportunity to share my experience to this panel, and hopefully we can answer any questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Luis. As Mr. Cruz mentioned before, remember that we are recording this webinar session. There will be available recordings in Spanish and English. And now it is my pleasure to present Mr. Rafael Vega. You have the floor.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, everybody, for putting together such an amazing program. Kudos to the NOLO consulting team for a second year in a row, doing an outstanding job with the program. Just like a lot of the comments that were previously shared by Carlos and Luis, I will echo a lot of the things that they are sharing as an agency. One of the biggest values, or one of the biggest things that we proud ourselves is to be servants. We just being a public servant is inherently part of our genetic code as an agency. So I will say that this is equal across the nation, that even across multiple levels, all our employees, they cherish, they share that work ethic, that are very interested on just having that personal touch, being able to work with the customers. In reality, we are a family, and this extends to our clientele. So one of the biggest challenges that I observed during this whole situation with COVID-19, it was due to the nature of what we're dealing with. We were not able to have the same interactions that we were accustomed to. But as a USDA employee, I cannot be more proud because I think that we have proven that we were able to be malleable. We were able to, just like Luis said, embrace technology and being able to continue to serve our customers. We are a multi-billion-dollar we have a multi-billion-dollar impact with the agriculture across the nation, and our customers or employees, they continue to provide the same services as we were in the past. But of course, just like the other two great leaders that were on this panel, they said we were taking in consideration protect our communities. And for me, as a local leader here in North Carolina, that was one of the biggest concerns, to be able to, number one, protect the agricultural commodities, and secondly, be able to protect our employees. But looking back and reflecting, I think that our agency or department as a whole have been very resilient in being able to adjust and do things, just like using the phone and be able to Skype with a customer. A lot of our field employees are just utilizing that. So embracement of technology, I think, is going to be something that even though it was a challenge at the beginning, I think that we will continue to grow, we will continue to expand, we will continue to utilize this great technology that we got in the top of our hands nowadays. So with that, as leaders within the community, I foresee that looking at the future for infrastructure, and not only looking at agriculture, but looking us as a nation, will continue to grow, will continue to develop. In rural America, it was interesting to see some of the slides from Maya, in which we were sharing that, you know, in the Hispanic community, we are looking closely to 55, 60% adoption of use of internet resources But if you look at the other hand, close to 40% of our clientele potentially doesn't have resources at the tip of their hands. So as a nation and as a department, we do have some room to grow. And I definitely foresee that happening in the near future. With that, I would like to stop there. I know that I got some things I would like to show. I don't know if now is the appropriate time to show those on the screen. They are? Yes?
Yeah, you can. We've asked Maya McElrath to share her. Yeah, there you go.
All right, good deal. So I always say that we are a reflection of our leadership. And I got 15 years with this amazing agency. And when I started my career, I look at people like Carlos and Luis, and I remember they provided me with many mentorship opportunities. So now I find myself as one of the leaders for the state of North Carolina, and it's just a humbling experience. But under the leadership of Tim Beer, the State Conservationist of North Carolina, a lot of this work ethic and the interest of ensuring that we are customer-based first. Customer service is one of our main values as an agency. We identify that in the state of North Carolina, we got a growing Hispanic community. And with that, Mr. Beer and all the leaders in North Carolina, we came together and we established different strategies just to ensure that we can better serve this growing community. And as an Hispanic individual, one of the things that I proud myself is that number one, in the state of North Carolina, we have been able to bring an outstanding group of professionals that the first thing that they bring to the table is their knowledge in agriculture and conservation, their work ethic, but in addition to that, they happen to be native speakers. So the information that I am sharing there on the website is a public website that it can be utilized in order for any producer from North Carolina that they can actually go into this website. And Maya, you'll be so kind, zoom in a little bit and click on one of the dots that is on the map. They can actually identify a professional that is located within their county or close to their county and get even their contact number and name so they can either call the office and get the services on Spanish. So in addition to that, you got additional tabs on the top in which the information that you see on your left column, you can actually find it on Spanish. As well of the limit English proficiency policy that we got in the state across the nation, and resources to be able to get interpretation services. So in the state of North Carolina, we currently can between 10 and 13 Hispanic employees that are able to provide the services in Spanish for all the community. And I think that's my cue. So I'm just going to be quiet right now, Sarah. And again,
no, you still have 2 minutes left. I'll let you know when you need to cut it, but 2 minutes left.
Okay. Good deal. So within this employee development and the framework that our leaders here in North Carolina are trying to establish, we already have employees that are already at that professional level that are able to provide the services in Spanish. But we are not staying there. We continue to grow. We continue to provide opportunities. And one of the great things, or the things I enjoy the most, as I still call myself, I'm 40 years old, but I still call myself a young Hispanic leader. I love to work with students, and through the Pathway program, through agreements at national level and working with NOLA Consulting, we have been more than excited to be able to receive such a cadre of great individuals are starting to come into our workforce. And I know that the impact that people like Carlos and Luis made on me when I started my career, I am able to give it back and have that impact with this young group of professionals. So with that, I'm just going to stop here. I am looking forward to the Q&A section. And again, thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to invite Luis Cruz and Carlos Suárez to share their screen while we take questions from the public. Again, the public, feel free to send us some questions. We actually already do have one. We're going to be answering in the order in which I presented you. So Carlos, you will be going first, then Luis, and then Rafael. Our first question is, how do you see the future of Hispanic young professionals in the USDA and the NRCS?
Doug, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Because for some reason it froze on my end.
Yeah, no problem. The question is, and let me know if you can't hear it clearly, because I can send it to you through the chat. How do you see the future of Hispanic young professionals in the USDA and the NRCS departments?
Okay, thank you. Quite frankly, and might sound as a cliche, but the future is super bright. We currently have, of the 51 directors that we have in across the nation, the 50 states plus the Caribbean, we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have seven state conservationists, Hispanic. Six or seven. And we just recently have a new one, Edwin Martinez, who's a state conservationist in Virginia. And along that, you have people like Rafael, people that are at the other levels, leadership levels in the agency. And we had a really good group of Hispanic females, male and females, but I want to emphasize the females because that's an area where we quite frankly, we need more leaders. And we had a really great group of female employees that are coming through the ranks and moving into leadership positions. Where we need, quite frankly, where we need to focus more our attention is on the leadership positions, what we call the GS-15s, and quite frankly, the senior executive service position. I'm currently a senior executive on the senior executive service in California. There's only 2 SCSers in the states, Texas and California. So I'm one of them. I'm honored to be one. And we have Salvador Salinas, who's the regional conservationist for the Central. And right now, acting on an SCS position is Ronald Alvarado, who is the acting associate chief. But where we need more, quite frankly, we need more Hispanics. And this is actually an invitation to those that are in the audience and the others. We need more people to take on the SCS opportunities when they come, because that's where you make the changes, that's where you influence policy and leadership. But quite frankly, the future is bright. I'm very excited with the number of female Hispanics and and Hispanic males that are coming through the ranks.
Thank you, Carlos. And you heard it here. The future is female. Now we move on to Luis Cruz. If you want me to repeat the question, I will gladly do so, Luis.
No, I think Carlos did an excellent job of priming the conversation. The future is indeed bright, but it is bright for the people that came before us. So, I mean, in this forum, I want to thank Carlos personally, because he's been there for all of us personally. But we are such a close community, and we have so many mentors that are willing to chair at all levels of leadership, and just being a director doesn't I mean, there's other people at lower levels that are excellent Hispanic leaders for all of us. So I hate to mention names because I know that I'm gonna miss one. But people like Carlos, Juan Hernandez, Astrid, Milton Vega, Manuel Matos, Brunilda Velez, those people have really prime all our communities to be tight and to share what they have gained as an experience, and they made us better. They accelerated our careers through their experiences, and so with that, I want to challenge all the younger employees that are in this chat to do the same. Pass the information. It doesn't matter if you've been with the agency 1 year. That's 1 year of experience that you can share with somebody newer than you. We got people across the nation with different experience. Share those experiences, talk to each other, call each other. That's the only way that we're gonna move forward. Also recruit. We need to be out there as an agency. We need to be known, and I hate to say it, we can do such a much better job there to get to be known as an agency, as a prime conservation agency, not only in the United States, but in the nation. So with that, I think I'm gonna stop there and leave to Rafael for further comments.
Thank you so much, Luis. Now, Rafael, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, I think that is very interesting. We got a perspective it was looking at the future, and another perspective that was definitely cherishing and emphasizing the great work and the great groundwork that previous leaders and current leaders have done and keep on doing. And I think that from my perspective, that's possibly one of the best ways to look at once any student, any new employee, young employee decides to enter the service. And when I say the service, I mean the civil service for any federal agency. It's just to learn from our past leaders. And just like Carlos say, the sky's the limit. We can definitely develop, build our own careers as you wish. Not even in my wildest dreams. I thought that I was going to be in charge of a division within a state when I started my career with NRCS 15 years ago. But I think that if I was going to give an advice to any student that is out there, it will be number one, don't be afraid, especially with Hispanic students that might be out there. Sometimes the lack of ability to speak fluently might make you a little bit more bashful. But if you keep on putting yourself out there, you will definitely develop those skills. And just like both of these gentlemen, they were saying, keep on communicating, be in touch. Here in North Carolina, we got, and Luis mentioned him, Milton Cortez. Milton is one of the founding members of the National Hispanic Organization of Professional NRCS Employees. And I remember when I started my career working with Milton. So what Luis was mentioning about communicating, building that network, I think is critical. I think that we got right now, just in North Carolina, over 10 different pathways opportunities. I know that there are many others out there. I cannot encourage all the students that are listening to us here today to take that chance. Don't be afraid. The support system is there for you, and we want to work with you and assist you in your development. So with that, I will stop right here.
Well, with that being said, that concludes our panel, which was titled Agriculture in the Time of COVID-19. Again, I'd like to thank you for being here, speaking on the subject. It's something that is ongoing and will probably continue happening. So we thank you very much for talking about it so openly and freely. And a special thanks to the panelists that we had beforehand and our speakers. And with that being said, now we will adjourn for a 45-minute break. You can refer to your programs or agenda for more information on our afternoon session. We have presentations regarding the Champions in Conservation Learning Network. We have some programs, as Rafael said, we talk about the Pathways program. We'll have a few previews of the modules and some statements from our program participants. And also we have our surprise segment at the end. And please remember that this is a recorded webinar. It will be available later, and the questions that we were unable to answer now will again be available after the symposium. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in 45 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks.